Yes, indeed. No doubt about it. Thoughts of the Week podcast. We in here. Be sure to support independent new Black media. And you can do this by subscribing to this channel. All right. No doubt about it. So recently, about a week ago, I did a news report regarding Raven-Symoné and her views about African American and Black American and American. And it got us some decent reviews on my news channel. But then I took a clip of that, the clip where she spoke on it and went into detail, and I put it on TikTok. All right. And it's been blowing up on TikTok, man. We got about 6,728 views. There's been over 1,000 hearts, people showing love. Comments is like 151 comments, and then people, I think this is the, what do you call that again? There's 149 people did it, where they saved this particular video. And then also I had people who reposted the video. So it's been blowing up, man. It's been blowing up. And so we want y'all to see, today we're going to do where we hear from the people, or we see from the people. And when I say we hear from the people, that can mean seeing comments. It could be meaning people have stuff to say. But this one's going to be in the form of comments, because a lot of people had a lot to say. And there's been a lot of love. We're going to show you that in real time, man. All right? No doubt about it. So, yeah, this one is definitely going to be from the people today. And yeah, we're going to get into it. All right? You know what it is. This is Thoughts of the Week podcast.
Let's take it back to the streets, mother.
Let's get it. You're rocking with the best. Thoughts of the Week podcast. Yeah, so yo, check it out. We're going to show you the screen in real time. Let's pull up the screen right now with Raven-Symoné's comments. And I'm going to play it also. If you guys want to know how I do this, put it in the comments and ask about it. And I'll tell you, it's an app, it's a free app, and I'll tell you how to I'll tell you the name of the app anyway, and let you pull it up and you can do your thing. All right. Hopefully it'll stay, because in the past there's been a lot of issues. So right now you're seeing in real time, you're seeing people's comments going across the screen. Let me pull this, let me blow it up a little bit bigger here. I don't know if there's a way to remove that color black background so I can make it bigger, but I'll play with it and figure out. If I figure something new out and y'all want to know about it, then I'll pass it on to y'all. So let's make the screen a little bit, pull myself out of there for a second. Yeah, so you can see the screen there. So this is real time on my my TikTok page. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play this video so you guys can hear what she was saying, and then we're going to hear from the people, which you guys are seeing on the screen right now. But we're going to get into it. All right. So yeah, let's play this and show you what she said.
I'm an American. I am a Black American. I am definitely African American. I'm an American. I am a Black American. I am definitely Black. There's nothing wrong with being African American, but a true African American is someone that is from Africa and moved here, either first generation or second generation, and has a tie to that country that I do not have. One of the first census in Virginia that allowed for Black people to have a name was somebody from my family. So that means they were there long before. I think there comes a point where when you build a country, when you fight for freedom and generationally live in a country.
Yeah, people have a huge problem with us rejecting the African American tag now because it stops them from being able to appropriate our history and culture.
African American, I'm an American.
All right, so there you have it. We'll play it back again here in shortly, but we're gonna get into the comments, man, and what she actually had to say, right? So she was like, look, I ain't African American. African American are those who have a tie to that particular, she said country, but she meant continent. For those who, there was somebody who commented one of the comments in here, and this is the actual phone. Let me see, real time. I'm showing y'all on the screen, but somebody made a comment in there saying that Africa's not a country, but we all know she meant continent. So knock it off, clown. But she was mentioning that African Americans are those who are from Africa. They have a tie to Africa, right? And they come over here first, second generation. And then she made mention that, you know, when it comes to Black Americans, she spoke generationally. So she was saying her family was going down the line. So we have a meaning that we have a tie here. Our ties is in America, the United States of America. And like I mentioned before, I don't know if it was in a previous podcast or one on my news channel, that unless a relative of mine's from here in the United States moved over there, and I gave this scenario of, let's say all of my relatives, distant or close, you know, meaning as far as first gen, you know, first cousin, second cousin, and all that type of stuff. Everybody was in the United States. There's nobody I can call from any country in Africa, and they'll pick up the phone and say, oh yeah, I'm his cousin. We've been in Africa. My such and such is born in Africa for years. So there's no tie to that. I could take my mom and dad and then take their mom and dad and take their mom and dad and just keep going down the line, like Raven said, generationally, and just keep going back. Our ties are here. And a lot of people, some people don't want to speak on it. Some people want to block it out. We also have indigenous, aboriginal, if you want to use whatever words, you know, they can have different meanings. So people can get technical and play with it, or you can just understand where I'm coming from and just be general with it for the sake of just getting a general broad understanding. We have family members who were Indians. We are tied to the Black Indians in the United States as well. And the combination of the Black Indians, some slaves that were brought here, because the majority of them was in South America, not here, but there were some that were here, but there was Black people already in the United States before slavery went down. And then when slavery went down, they took some of those that were here, maybe moved them here, moved them in this state, moving to that state. Some might have took some to the Caribbean. Some took some back to Africa. So I say that to say also that there's been a thing, a surgence, if you will, of people questioning those DNA tests and saying a lot of these companies are possibly getting paid to tell people, well, hey, your DNA comes from sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, this or that. Because when you sit down and think about it, why is there so much a push for everybody from every corner to constantly want to keep pushing you into the African bag? And they just want to disregard everything that's happened in the United States with foundational Black Americans. It's almost like they don't want you to explore that. They don't want you to explain that. They don't want you to go tell that. They just want to, you Africa, your people from Western Africa. or your people from here. Everybody just don't want to bring up the rich and deep foundational Black American history that's going on in here. And the fact that when some explorers came over here, even those white ones came over here, they already seen people that look like me already here. And it was like, well, hey, they look like the other folks back over there in the other continent, but they already here. Nobody seen that brought them here. How they get here on their own? Which is more proof that we were here already. All right. And maybe one day I'll go into one of the books, because there's plenty of them out there, from the J.A. Rogers books, from the Chase McGee's, from the Dr. Claude Andersons. Do your research and you'll find out a lot's been going on here in the United States, from inventions, from military, from doctors, you name it, sports figures, you name it, entertainment, you name it, all done here in the US. And it's just kind of odd that people just want to constantly Africanize you. And then when you don't accept that, you're like, no, my people are from here. I can't find nobody, even doing the research, I can't find anybody, and it ties back to Africa. We here. They just keep trying to keep you away from what's happened here throughout the hundreds of years and thousands of years. They just seem like they just want you to be Africa. And I think one of the reasons is so they can gather because we all Black from whatever you from, and what could be gained from that, right? You had the situation where the Ghanaian president came over here, went to New York, and we not feeling that. Went over there to the burial ground, I think it was, of Foundation of Black Americans. And we don't need him to speak up, because all it is a play for them to get something and to brush us off and not get anything. That's all it was a play for. And I don't remember hearing anybody say anything about this, what I'm getting ready to say. Ever since people shut that down about Michael B. Jordan being Ghanaian and his family, and playing a video where Michael B. Jordan spoke on his lineage, which was Shreveport, Louisiana, and Hope, Arkansas. And all of a sudden, right after that, this Ghanaian president comes in and wants to act as if he's speaking up for us. And another thing is, I didn't hear too many people say, and I've said this before, or I know I've thought about it before, they are even getting paid off for our backs. Ghana is getting paid. I always said that anybody that's Black American, Foundation of Black American, and they go to Ghana to that place where they show the jail cells or the dungeons of where they had the slaves before they shipped them out, Ghana should have, it should be free of charge for any Foundation of Black American who comes over there to see that. They shouldn't charge no Black Americans when they come over to see it, but yet they're getting paid, they're charging for that, and they're making money still off of that slave trade to this day. We need to start speaking up and calling them out on that. Anytime a Foundation of Black American who decides they want to go over there and just see, they want to see what that was about and go inside, because they let you walk in and all that, and it still has the smells, and people say they have a certain feeling that comes over them when they go in there. Foundation of Black Americans that go to that place, I forget the official name they call it, they need to give Foundation of Black Americans no charge, free of charge. They need to charge everybody else. Any Europeans that come over there, any Latinos that come over there, Afro-Latinos, whoever, Russians, whoever decides they want to come over there and go through that tourist attraction, if you will, they need to charge all of them, and they need to take some of that money, set it aside, if not all of it, and set it aside for Foundation of Black Americans. How about that? That's what they need to do. All right. That's what they need to do. Don't charge no foundational Black Americans who want to take that trip. They got to spend their money as it is to get on the flight, get hotel rooms and whatever to go over there to Ghana. They don't need to be charged nothing for that particular place to show them the jail cells, dungeons where the slaves were put in before they was getting ready to get sent off to wherever. And the money that they collect from that, they need to give it to foundational Black Americans as a start. All right. So nobody's really been talking about those two things or three things. The fact that they still making money through that tourist attraction. The fact that Michael B. Jordan broke down what his lineage was and people was jumping on him saying, oh, my dad came from Ghana, came to visit from Ghana. And everybody, all these old African and Caribbean publications jumped on the boat and was like, oh, see, he's Ghanaian. Michael B. Jordan's Ghanaian. Jumped on the boat on that. Jumped off the boat on that. And was calling out Ghanaian until we started pulling up the receipts. Then that got shut down. All of a sudden, the Ghanaian president, a week or two later, or whatever, how many weeks after that situation with Michael B. Jordan's speech, comes over here and want to talk about reparations. And then all it is for them. It's not speaking up for us, and we don't want them to speak up for us. We can handle our business like we've been doing throughout history. We always handle our wars, our conflicts. If we was being enslaved, we rebelled for all types of injustices. We already know how to deal with injustice. We don't need this guy. And like I said, it seemed like it's just going to be a scam for them. They just trying to get a bag off of it. That's what it seemed like. So free of charge, Ghana. Here's my thing, Ghana. This is what you need to do. President, Ghanaian president. And his middle name, I think, is close to how you pronounce my name, except you remove a letter. I don't like that. But anyway, I don't like that because I think he's being slick. And that ain't associated with me. Anyway, free of charge. When people come to see those jail cells that's right off the waters of being transported and enslaved and transported to other countries, free for foundational Black Americans. Everybody else you charge, all proceeds go to foundational Black Americans. That can be a start, because you still gonna have to do a whole bunch of other stuff for our reparations claim. But that's a start, because a lot of African countries, or some tribes, were involved in enslaving Black people. They was involved in that slave trade. They wasn't the only ones. They were involved with getting with the Europeans, making deals with them, making deals with Portugal, making deals with Spain, so on and so forth. Y'all was an integral part of it. All right. So free of charge. Charge no foundational Black Americans who decided just want to go over there and see what happened to their ancestors. All monies go to all proceeds all sales you make from that go to foundational Black Americans. All right. Let's make that clear. All right, let's move on. I was going to say a couple other things, but let's move on. Let's get into the comments, man, and what these folks are saying about what Raven-Symoné was talking about. All right. I'm going to pull them up because these things are going to keep floating on the screen. So now there's one person that said, that's her definition. She does not speak for everyone. You always have one of them type of people who chime in in the mix about stuff like that. They always got to be 1 or 2, 3 or 4 or 5 folks. Oh, she don't speak for us. She don't speak for me. But then somebody, and I love it when people come back and check some of these people. Now, a person came back on this person. This person his account is called Truth Be Told. And he or she, because the avatar is goofballish, but it says that's her definition. She does not speak for everyone. This person's probably not Black American anyway. But then a person responded back, Melissa Queen, she says, She speaks for the majority. Everyone isn't homesick for a continent they've never lived in. Not everyone is romanticizing being a part of people that sold our ancestors into unspeakable atrocities. Shout out to you. And then someone else put, looks like this person's name is Weena. And this person said, she speaks for me and my family. We are not African and never was. My family is Cherokee. All right. Another person says, exactly. I'm a Black American. I'm not African. And another person says, she's absolutely correct, talking about Raven-Symoné. Another person wrote, I apologize to Raven. I was upset when she first said this, but now I am waking up and realizing she is right. She was right this whole time. And another person says, thank you, Raven. We are sorry. So some people are apologizing because when she said that on Oprah, and Oprah was like, girl, you're going to get a lot of comments. Girl, people ain't going to like that. Girl, right? So that's why some people are apologizing now. Another person said exactly 100, right? Another person said she wasn't wrong. She was early. Okay. Then this person with some 2 replies after that says she said this years ago too. And then another person responded to that comment saying facts. And I remember saying, damn, she tripping, but she was right the whole time. And then another person just responded to that same comment with 100s across the screen. All right. So this the people talking. Some of them could be bots, but I'm thinking a lot of them are actual people. All right. So this person says a lot of people owe her an apology. All right. Next person says she was ahead of her time. And then there was someone who replied after that comment saying, no, she wasn't. She says out loud what majority of us think. No real Black person has ever called themselves African American. And then another person who responded to Raven-Symoné, this video, says agreed. And the next person said, I agree with her. The next person said she's absolutely correct. The next one said, she said this when I was a senior in high school. I remember, and they said she didn't like being Black. Raven, we are sorry. Yes, we are American. All right. The next person said, I stand with Raven. Next one, I don't usually agree with her, but I did then, and I definitely do now. The next one says, yep, we stand with Raven. And the next one says, that's right. And then the next one is, I now understand you, Raven. All right. And the next one says, valid. The next one says, agreed. The next one says, I agree and always did. The next person said, period, with some hearts. And there was a reply to that period with the hearts, which it says, I know that's right. Okay. And then we have another one said, yes, girl, with some hearts, emojis with hearts. Another person said, teach. Another one said, that's right. And another one responded the same way with that's right. Another person said, exactly. All right. Another person said Raven was one of the first celebrities to publicly delineate. I feel you on that one. The next one is, I agree with her. Now, my apologies, Raven. Another person said, I always understood Raven and felt the same way. I'm American, ethnically Black American. And let me see what this picture is. Someone sent the picture and it says, this right here. There you go.
American. I am a Black American. I am definitely Black.
All right. There we go. Let's get back to the comments. Another person said correct. Another one said exactly to Raven-Symoné. Another one person said, and to think we were mad at her initially, she was on point. All right. Another person said, thank you, Raven. And while I'm actually reading this, another comment came in. So that's another thing. Comments are coming in. Like I said, I was a few days ago, it was like 2,000 and something. Then I left it alone for a day or two, and I come back. It was 4,000. I think that was yesterday. Now it's up to 6,000 views, as I'm talking about. And it was 130 something and 140 something. And then just a little while ago was 151 comments. And now it's currently at 152 comments. All right. So again, there's a person that said, thank you, Raven. Another person said, right. Another person said, absolutely. Another person said, yes, speak. Another person wrote RS, whatever that means. Y'all put that in the comments. Another person put agreed. This is all to Raven-Symoné's comments. Another person had an image of 100. There you go. You see it. I don't see that on the screen. Another person wrote, I feel the same way. Another person wrote period. Another person said agreed. And then we have another comment with some replies to it. And we're going to read the replies to this comment. And the comment says, I would never forget when everyone was ready to cancel her for this, but she was ahead of her time, apparently. And then people who responded to that was two people. And they said, yep, I agree with her the first time. And then another person said, same. All right. And here we got another comment with one reply to that actual comment. And this comment says, and everybody got mad at Raven when she said this a long time ago on The View. And the response to that was, I didn't. All right. Next comment, yes, we are Black Americans. That is a unique identity. The next person says, African American was coined by Jesse Jackson as another reclassification for American Indians. Okay. The next person with a reply to this comment, this person said, this person is Big Zoe, and he or she said, I promise she voted for Trump. And then another person wrote, a lot of us did. All right. Then we have MC Navy Vet BSN RN and had an image that says, please stop calling me a African American. I am a Black American. I'm proud to be one. All right. The next person said, I was offended when she first said this because I was ignorant, but she is absolutely right. Another person that responded to Raven-Symoné put facts. And then here's another person. This is what they wrote. They put, she received such backlash because Oprah didn't sit with what Raven was trying to convey to her. She immediately made it sound like something bad, but time allowed us to understand what Raven meant. And we all, Black Americans, greatly relate to Raven. All right. This next one is her and Smokey Robinson both were on this. Yeah, that's facts. I actually have the videos here as well on my TikTok page here. Maybe I'll play it. I don't know. We'll see when I get through these comments. The next one says, I agree with her when she first said this. Floyd Mayweather Jr. said the same thing. All right. Yep, you do remember that. The next one is she's absolutely right. All right. The next one says facts. And then I don't know what this person put up here. Members. Let me see if I can pull that up. All right, there you go. It says members' births are generally some PDF this person pulled up. This person named One King 901 Superior pulled this up as a response to Raven-Symoné. It says members' births are generally overrepresented within the expected geographic origin of the cluster. For example, ancestral birth locations associated with the Irish cluster are predominantly found in Ireland. And Scandinavian cluster birth locations are disproportionately found in Norway and to a lesser extent, Sweden and Denmark. An exception is the African American cluster, which is not associated with West African birth locations. This is unsurprising given the lack of genealogical records tracing back to Africa. The majority of these groups also show evident geographic localization within the United States. All right.
There's nothing wrong with being African American, but
so they pulled that up. Okay. So the next one responded with big facts to Raven-Symoné. The next person said she is right. The next one said all facts. The next one said she was right all along. The next person said that's exactly what I believe. The next person wrote, I remember when a whole lot of people went in on her for saying this. Penny Love said facts. Saint Elsewhere said, I said this back in 99 and they tried to look at me like I was crazy. Felix Biz says, I agree 1000%. First Royal One said, I'm Black American, not an African American at all. Raven, well said, boo. El Primo G says, Raven's right, she's not continental African. Indo-Caribbean says, she's native. Still sick, you all, says she's owed an apology. And then Kesh says, I understood the first time people were so angry. And then Honesty Dap says, unapologetic, or has a picture of unapologetically FBA. Shout out to you. And then Maya says she was on to something. All right. And then Bop says, we all were drinking the Kool-Aid then, but she absolutely right. And then Glick Gang says, damn right. All right. Shayla has a 100 with a watch next to it. And a it, meaning 100, watch it. All right. And T. Sanchez says, yes, she is complete right. Kundalini D. Lee says she was right all along. Hather's Palace says she's was right. Then she's was right then, and she's right now. All right. And then Sweets put FBA with fire emojis. Desmanian said ahead of her time. Lena said she didn't lie. Derek Kelly says, I'm descendants of the West African slaves. I'm proud of being African American. All right. All right, Derek Kelly, you proud to be African American. You're a descendant of West African slaves. Okay. Tammy Allen says, facts. FBA Princess says she summed this up perfectly. All right. Crownless King 1 says she's 100% right. Amazing Shay said, I agree with Raven. Black Americans were raised to embrace Africans, but they were raised to despise us. I feel you. Matriarch HJ says, I agreed with Raven when she said this. I've agreed with the fact that I am Black and not African American. Since they put the label upon us, I am Black American. Darmte says, I will admit, I didn't like when she first said this, but now I fully understand her and she's right. All right. Mizzle said she had it right a long time ago. And then Trinot says it's very, very simple to understand. All right. 1C says facts. Who all gonna be there says facts. Plus size chocolate says exactly with 100 emojis. Beauty over 30 says yep with an emoji. Nate Divorce says, says she's absolutely right. The Conquer says when she first said this, people clowned her hard. Full circle moment. FBA Chris says, I agree with this 100%. Marciano King says she's right. Lady Rady or Lady Ratty, the spiritual lawyer, says, I am not African. Jennifer Barrage says, I agree 100. And Mitty says, I say it all the time. And then Prayer Life says facts. And then HLLN says totally agree with her. And then there's some people with some emojis. Double O Wink has some emojis. Trenton Bailey has some emojis, 100. Y'all see it on the screen. TT has 100 emojis. Double Up TX, 100 emojis. No Cry Zone, 100. Janice Kelly, 100 emojis. Toby Pryor or Pryor, 100 emojis. Todd One Brooklyn, 100 emojis. TK Fit has the clapping emojis, clapping the hands for Raven-Symoné. Then you got Queen Bean with the 100 emojis. You got FBA Mont, 100 emojis. You got Cassandra Yvette with the claps and the 100 emojis. You got Trey or Tria Leach, 100 emojis. Kimberly Lewis with the heart. Azariah has the fire emojis. Nathaniel has a 100 emojis. Then you have Eastside Chemo, has the American flag with the black fist emojis. All right. And then Butterfly Lady, she says, at Raven-Symoné, girls, so sorry for the backlash you received after this interview. You are absolutely correct, girl. And then Haddis T has a comment, and then two people responded to that person's comment. And the comment is, true. As a Ghanaian American, that term should have been reserved for immigrants first and second gen. And then two people responded to that by saying, this is Lily saying, and it's still too broad. It should be country plus American. And then the response back from Haddis T said, I always say Ghanaian American. All right. And then from Lola Easy, it says ADOS nationalities are American. And then it says our ethnicity is black and our race is African. Nationality is where you're born. They spelled where wrong. Where you're born and or have citizenship. Your ethnicity is the culture, your identity, you identify with, excuse me. So again, it says your ethnicity is the culture you identify with. Your race is based on phenotype. And then somebody responded to that by saying, yes. Oh, this is Lola responding to herself. Yes, we were here before Europeans and the slave trade, but we migrated here from Africa. Okay. Next one from Andrea says, I always got it. I never accepted the term African American. I learned about slavery from Roots. Never heard of it in school, at home, only on TV. And then Michelle says, well, she is not lying about that. We are Americans, 100 emojis. I don't say black because I'm not the color of a crayon. A crayon is black. Well, she's like taking it too far with the goofy nonsense. We all understand that. Some people just don't just say things like, oh, I ain't the color of, I ain't no darn crayon. That's not the point. Some people just want to be, have something to say. So prop gal said, true. I look as myself as Black American, not African. I know nothing about Africa. And then Be Creative says, facts. Black Americans, FBA have nothing to do with Africa. We were already here, been here over 300,000 years. We not African. And then Can I Live says, she said this years ago and tried to explain to other Black Americans of their history, and she was right the whole time. All right. And then Terry Fick says she's right. Either African American just as much as European American or all American. You have to have a tie to a country, and furthermore, lots of DNA from that country. Black Americans is a vague definition because most aren't really black in color, much less in DNA, not being sub-Saharan. There we go with that again. And enough and being mixed with European, Asian, and all. I notice when some people that make these long drawn out comments just kind of be babbling a little bit, don't really have nothing to say, and they just wanted to have something to say. You know what I mean? Excuse me. And so they had to find something to say. But let me speak on one thing or two things he might have mentioned here. Black Americans. Oh, yeah. Black Americans is a vague definition. That's why we have foundational Black Americans, because it makes it very exclusive, very clear, and other people can't come in from other places and say they're foundational to the land of the United States. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you. But we also can call ourselves Black Americans. And we also know when we say Black Americans, we know who we are talking about. Those who were descendants of slaves, whose ancestors were slaves, right? So we still can use that. Jell says, I grew up around my family, Americans, and family friends who were West Indian and South American. I had one childhood best friend, and his parents was from Africa. Even as a kid, I saw the differences in our culture and the way we look, however similar. I never understood how I'm considered African American like him when my family has American Indian, French, and Gaelic ancestry, whatever that is. And none of my elders called themselves African American. This is kind of a weird comment because let me see, I grew up around my family, Americans, and family friends who were West Indian and South American. I had a childhood best friend and his parents was from Africa. Okay. All right. I think I get it. Jazzy says, she was very right too soon. Black people weren't ready for it. And then Pizza 8. Yeah, okay. I'm American and I have African descent. All right. Good for you. The Beast says, exactly. Black is a people cut off from their home and traditions, culture, and even our own names, tortured and mistreated by a government that doesn't acknowledge us as humans deserving of equality, human decency, or justice. All right. Shout out to you, the Beast. Truth Hurts Them says, she said it right. I did my family tree. We all born here. No African. And my birth certificate don't say nothing on it. Recon says, I'm not Black nor African American. Okay. Eric D says, Black is a color, not a race or ethnicity. All right. Let me see what the folded comment says. Says Black Ice says, people called her for speaking the truth. She was absolutely correct. And then YHWH Lion says, if you take offense with anything she said, you are the problem. Army Time says, she's right, FBA. And then Major Payne says, they teach that indoctrinated nonsense to keep one from knowing that they're truly Moorish Americans. The reason why we're the only nation of people to get renamed every 10 to 20 years. That seems to have been the case. And if I'm not mistaken, there were Moors at one point that did come over at some point in time because they were the ones to help these explorers do the navigating to make it to to show them how to even get to the United States. So foundational Black Americans have a mixture of different things, Moorish in them, Black Indians that were here. They see another comment popped up. Everyone owes her an apology. See, people are still commenting. Comments are still coming in. All right. So yeah, we are very unique people in the United States and very exclusive type of people. And like I mentioned before, we don't think like a lot of Africans. Of course, when you look at the histories between the continent of Africa and the United States, when it came to standing up against things, you see that they don't stand up, or they didn't stand up to a lot of stuff. I don't know what it is that we have in our DNA when we have injustices done to us. Whether it's on person to person, whether it's governmental, whether it's in your particular town, some wrongs being done, you'll find that foundational Black Americans, if they find that it's wrong and they get pissed about it, we stand up about injustices. And we don't see that as a big history with those in the continent of Africa. Just don't see it. And then we have it in a lot of books. A lot of revolts took place in America. All right. So we have a history of standing up against oppression and wrongdoing, put it that way. All right. Jonathan says, woo, the way they were trying to drag homegirl for speaking logically. All right. And then Melanated Dinosaur said, where's the foundational European then? Okay. Christopher has a picture that says American by blood, not by boat. Sure Thing has facts with the Black Heritage flag. All right. Black American Muslima says, y'all was mad when she said this. And then Ty Lil Kari says, Raven was wrong then, and she's wrong now. African American is not for immigrants. And then two people responded to that comment. Let's get into that. One person said, Aqua Queen said, she just loud and wrong. People can literally Google it and see why we are called Black or African American. And then Deetra said, it's called reclassification. All right, there you go. And B said, they crucified her when she said this years ago. Daisy Jackson said, we have no spiritual connection to this name or the country. Our spiritual connection is here to our land. And then Shebrew Copper said, Oprah, eat your heart out. And then Saturn's father said, it's not hard to understand. And Kalo said, all my family come from Burnt Corn, Alabama since 1810, baby, with the laughing emojis. And then Amari says, why did y'all vote against the UN resolution on recognizing slave trade as gravest crime against humanity? I guess he's speaking to the United States, Israel, and Argentina. All right. 3 said all facts. True that. Bring Me to Life says this is how Dominicans feel like. Okay. Lou Jones says Raven explains perfectly what FBA all about. And then Miyoshi Bell says everyone owes her an apology for real. Let's see what these other comments say. And that's it. That's all the comments. And since I've been reading, I told y'all there was 152 comments that came in. Y'all see it on the screen live in real time, 164. It went up to 164 comments. All right. And of course, I'm not going to go back and read the new ones. I read enough. You get an idea what people are thinking. The people are thinking about this topic and what Raven-Symoné has said. All right. So there you have it. Y'all go ahead and chime in the comments as well. Let me know what you think, man. I definitely appreciate y'all. Let me scroll this thing all the way up. I was moving it slow, but I'm moving fast now. All right. And again, if y'all want to know how I do this, where I show in real time everything that's going on this particular video and can show it on the screen like that, y'all put it in the comments, man, and I'll break it down. I'll tell you the name of the app, and you should be able to go from there. And as you see right now on the screen, 1,185 hearts, as you see on the screen in real time. People are hitting the hearts like crazy. They're showing the love, meaning they love what she said. I told you 164 comments now from 152 as I was reading them out. 149 people have saved this video, marked it to save it. And yeah, that's what it's about. So I'm gonna go ahead and play what she said.
African American, I'm an American.
All right, I'm gonna play what she said real quick, and then with that, we're gonna get out of here. All right, let's play it back one more time.
African American, I'm an American. I am a Black American. I am definitely Black. There's nothing wrong with being African American, but a true African American is someone that is from Africa and moved here, either first generation or second generation, and has a tie to that country that I do not have. One of the first census in Virginia that allowed for Black people to have a name was somebody from my family. So that means they were there long before. I think there comes a point where when you build a country, when you fight for freedom and generationally live in a country.
Yeah, people have a huge problem with us rejecting the African American tag now because it stops them from being able to appropriate our history and culture.
African American.
All right, so there you go. I'm gonna let it play while you see the comments coming up on the screen, and you might see new comments pop up. Let me know that new comments on the screen. You see it on the bottom left, 6,728 views on my TikTok page, my personal TikTok page. And yeah, people are chiming in on this, what she's saying, man. And a lot of people are starting to understand who they are. Foundational Black Americans. Some people call themselves Black American. Some people call themselves the indigenous Indians or Black Indians. They're all from America. All right. People call themselves Creoles. Some people even still go with Negro, surprisingly, but you know, that all American Negro or Negro American, but that all encapsulates what we are. It's just that people want to decide to call themselves you know, different things, whether it's FBA, like I said, Negro American, Black American. There are some of us who still refer to us as African American. And you know, although a lot of us are moving away from that, and that came out, you know, Jesse Jackson brought that out. And I think I remember somebody even mentioning that may have came out before Jesse Jackson. I don't know how true that was, that name was or term was used before. I don't think it's been, but of course it can be researched and you know, found out, if you will, right? Let me see something real quick here. More comments on the screen. You're going to see comments and hearts. So yeah, you know, we refer to ourselves as different things, but what's gaining a lot of momentum is FBA, the letters FBA, which stands for Foundational Black American, because it really tightens things so other people can't come from other countries and say, well, yeah, a lot of people say I'm Black American and I'm this, and try to crowbar themselves into the lineage. All right. And I want to make that clear again, because people still lying and going around lying and saying that we are a hate group, that there's a leader, that there's a person who always speaks out and seems to play as the leader because that person always speaks out. 19 keys. I'm just going to leave it at that. We're not a hate group. We're not going out attacking people. But you'll check the history, and when you do things to us, we will stand up against it. You know, that's just in the DNA. And it's shown, you know, throughout the years, we had rebellions, revolts, slave revolts. I think I said some time, probably some years ago, I have a book. It's no longer in print. I don't think there's never going to be in print anymore unless somebody brings it back. I could bring it back, I guess. I don't know how that would work. Where I have a whole history of New York regarding slaves and stuff like that. And in there is mentioned the slave revolt of 1712 in New York. So that book has been out of print. I think I was the last one to get that book. Some years ago, I went to Brooklyn because I wanted to check out some bookstores. Actually, it looked like not an apartment building. I forget what you call those things, those brownstone houses. And on the bottom was like dude had a mini bookstore in there. And I went and picked up a book. I was walking around, see what he had, because it was a black bookstore. I was looking around. I was like, oh, I've seen that book. I was like, oh, New York, some history. So, and he's like, you got the last one that is no longer in print. I was like, oh, yes. And so on my other channel, Black History Minute, sometime, you know, down the road, I'm going to start doing videos regarding New York. You know, really bust them out, because, you know, with Mom Donnie started kind of backtracking because the comment he made that New York was built by immigrants. Now people was getting on his neck, and he had to kind of backtrack a little bit. And his little cornball way, it still don't seem like a genuine response from him, of him acknowledging that, hey, yeah, it was Black Americans that did. You know, he kind of says it nonchalantly, like he's just having to say it so he can go back later and say he did acknowledge that, but it really didn't seem genuine at all. But yeah, so somewhere down the line, I'm gonna do some Black history facts or information regarding New York. And I haven't looked at the book in some years, but some of the stuff I've seen in there, I was like, they don't want this to be told. They're keeping certain things hidden. And I'm gonna grab that book and start creating some videos from the information in that book. So you can follow that Black History Minute channel. All right, be sure to do that. And let's see what we got here. Before we get out of here, y'all scan this QR code. All right. If you're interested in wanting to know the Congress members, let me take this off the screen real quick. I'll put it back up in a sec. The Congress members, I forget, I want to say it's 127 of them that voted on keeping the sexual misconduct cases that some of these Congress members were involved in. They keeping it secret, so you won't find out who are the names. And the details about that, they're taking our tax money and they're paying the victims people who are victims in these situations. They're using our tax money. But I think that the people who committed those misconduct, since they get millions and probably a lot of them get that APAC money, all right? APAC money, right? So since they get a lot of money, a lot of them end up becoming millionaires for the first time in Congress. They need to pay the victims out of their own pocket and let the taxpayers keep their money. All right. I can go into a whole different rant about taxpayer money and where our money's going to that it shouldn't, but that's a whole nother thing. We're going to stay on Raven-Symoné and her comments and things like that. So again, here is the QR code on the screen. If you guys are interested in getting the details about the congressional cover-up regarding that misconduct cases being voted on by Republicans, I'm going to say that again, by Republicans and Democrats. I'm going to say this about that, and then I'm going to put the QR code up one more time. The Democrats and Republicans can get together to hide these cases against them from you knowing what they're doing, these misconduct, these harassment and sexual misconduct cases. Democrats and Republicans can get together on that, but they sure can't get together when it comes time for you, the real Americans, the true Americans, the foundational Black Americans. They can't seem to get together and do what they're supposed to do with the real Americans. Imagine that. Again, that also should show other Americans, or so-called, if you call yourself Americans, of other ethnicities, how they get down, because they'll look out for each other when it's time to, and they won't look out for you, or they'll look out for others and keep other ethnic groups, foundational Black Americans, out the mix. All right. So here's a QR code again. Get your mama's phone, your sister's phone, whoever, and scan that QR code, and you should be able to access that congressional cover-up instantly. All right. So I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for tapping in once again. Put your comments down and let me know what you think about what Raven-Symoné said. Let us all know what you think about it. And yeah, I'm gonna get on out of here, man. All right. You rocking with the best Thoughts of the Week podcast. I'm a ghost, baby. One. Bye.